the visa that allows you to stay in the UK. And once that visa is expiring, then you apply for leave to remain. There are various areas of the immigration rules where you can make an application under. There's a family route, there's a parent route, there's a spouse or married partners. There's quite a lot of routes. There's a skilled workers route. So various areas that you can make an application for leave to remain.
Hello, everyone.
Right.
I'm using this opportunity to welcome us once again to Community Issues and Concerns. Like we all know, my name is Tolash Jayoba. Today, we'll be looking at visas and immigration matters. UK Visas and Immigration Department has the responsibility for making numerous decisions every year about who has the right to visit or stay in the country. This immigration rules and regulations is progressing with new rules, and advice being applied consistently. So we just thought it is important to keep to date with these rules, the immigration rules, and however, these rules can sometimes be confusing and very hard to follow. Today we'll be having discussions on asylum, student visas, to remain citizenship, visa applications, various visa applications, and the factors that can hinder the success of the application, the visa application. So today with me, I have two guests that we'll be having the discussion with. I have with me Mr. Alex Givenson, who is an immigration lawyer, and I have also Pastor Tom Ademuwagun, who is also an immigration lawyer. And I think at this junction, I will let them do the detailed introduction of themselves. So if I go first with Alex. Alex, are you with us?
Yes, hi.
All right, so that is Alex Givenson. He's an immigration lawyer. Please, can you just give us the detailed introduction about yourself, who you are, so okay. We'll know who you are. Probably, yeah. All right.
Hi, everyone. As Tolasi said, my name is Alex Givenson, and I practice immigration law, and I've been so doing since 2011, 10 and 11 anyway. I'm currently based. My office is in Newcastle, and it is called UK Visa Advice Services. We specialize in all aspects of immigration law and everything to do with immigration. So, yeah. And thank you today for having me.
All right. Thank you so much. Now, I would like to call on Pastor Tom Ademuwagun. Can you please, would like to meet you, know who you are in detail, please. Pastor Tom.
Thank you very much for inviting me to Community Issues and Concerns. Thank you, Tolashe. Thank you, Ali. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, everyone that is watching. My name is Tom Ademuwagun. I'm a qualified solicitor. I qualified in 2005 as a barrister and a solicitor. Then I qualified in the UK. I have to, when you come into the UK, you do your transfers. So I've been qualified in the UK as a UK solicitor since 2014. Yeah, if I'm right, yeah. Apart from practicing as a solicitor, I do family and immigration. And apart from that, I also do independent social work. I also practice as a social worker also. So as a social worker, I've been practicing for about 23 years. So I combine both the solicitor and the social work profession. So I have dual professional practice. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. I know because of our time, I wouldn't want to talk too much. So this is how we do it. We will let our guests, we'll let them talk to us through all the matters, all the immigration issues here in the United Kingdom. And after that, we will now open the floor for the participants to start asking questions, and our professionals, our immigration experts, will then be taking the questions one after the other. But right now, I'm going to call on Alex Givenson to go through some of these points with us, the immigration issues and matters to go. Alex?
Yeah.
All right. So it's up to you now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Tolase. From the topics of our conversation today, I think we have leave to remain, and that's leave to remain in terms of wanting to stay in the UK after you've either successfully entered with an entry clearance visa. Entry clearance visa essentially is if you came in from abroad with a visa that allows you to stay in the UK. And once that visa is expiring, then you apply for leave to remain. There are various areas of the immigration rules where you can make an application under. There's a family route, there's a parent route, there's a spouse or married partners. There's quite a lot of routes. There's a skilled workers route. So various areas that you can make an application for leave to remain to be able to stay in the UK. And also on the topic of our conversation today, there is the issue with asylum. Now, asylum application for a lot of people is essentially immigrant wanting to come in through the Channel Tunnel or coming in by boat or whatever. Whatever way or means that you enter the UK, you're entitled, if you have a fear of persecution from the country that you're fleeing from, to be able to make a claim for asylum in the UK. Once you're in the UK, you have to contact the authority. The earlier you're able to do so, the better it is for you, because there's the issue with the credibility. So if you maybe are in the UK for, say, a period of time and then decide to chooses to make a claim for asylum, that could affect how the Home Office view your asylum claim on your credibility, essentially. How credible you are, because if you actually have a fear of persecution, for instance, if you're fleeing a war or problem in your own country, the point would be that you'll be seeking help as soon as you enter the country. So for people wanting to make a claim for asylum, they should bear that in mind, because credibility might become an issue for them, depending on how long they are in the UK before making a claim for asylum. Sorry, I'm just going through my list here just to pick on the areas that I have to talk about. There's the issue with studentship in terms of student visa application. For most students, or for those already in the UK anyway, you probably already know your best route of maybe coming into the UK for study is through getting a student visa. And in most cases, you require the university that you'll be studying at to sponsor your application, because that's what they're there for. And they're also able to provide you with all the information and the information that you need to know in terms of to be able to make a successful application to study in the UK. I think I also have on my list here factors affecting our applications. So I think going forward, it may be helpful if we're taking questions, as we would do anyway, take questions from individuals. So then I'm just giving an overview of the issues that we're here to talk about, or that I'm here to talk about. But as we go on anyway, I know a lot of you will have your own questions, and then I'll be able to elaborate more on each and every question that come across. So just for now, so you have an understanding as to the issues that are available that we're able to talk about. I will be speaking on issues that affect factors that may affect your ability to make a successful applications. It doesn't matter whether you're applying from within the UK or you're applying from abroad. It doesn't matter what sort of application you're actually making, right? If you are not making not providing adequate information or the right information for your specific type of application, there may be issues that would hinder that application from being successful. For those of you that may have questions in this area, when we're through with talking or providing you with information, I am available to take questions from you relating to those sort of application that you're making. Also in the area of asylum and also in the area of studying in the UK, essentially in every area of law relating to UK immigration rule and regulations and law, we are available to answer your questions. Okay? And that's
okay.
me, sorry.
All right, thank you, Alex. Yeah, so Pastor Tom.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I understand you'll be talking about EU settlement, naturalization, and overseas entry clearance.
Yes.
So yeah.
Right. Let's start EU settlement scheme. As we all know, few years ago, the UK pulled out from the EU. Before the UK pulled out from the EU, all 27 EU members are allowed to exercise their treaty rights. You know, Portugal, France, Germany, Lithuania, Poland, you know, 27 countries. They can come into the UK, they can live, they can work, and they can reside, exercising their treaty rights. So obviously we had that referendum where the UK voted leave. So as immediately, you know, they triggered the Article 50. They left the EU. So that became a problem for EU nationals that wanted to come and live here. But what the government did was that they put a transition period. So they didn't just say a blanket, people can come in and people can leave. So come 31st of last year, that is 31st of December 2020, moving into the new year, they put a cutoff that EU citizens that are not living, exercising their treaty rights before the 31st of December will not be able to come in and exercise treaty rights. So there was a lot of influx of EU citizens that came in quickly before the 31st of December. So if you can demonstrate that you're already living and exercising treaty rights in the UK before the 31st of December 2020, you are allowed to continue to remain in the UK under the settlement scheme, okay? So what they did was they now gave the EU citizens that have been living in the UK an opportunity for them to regularize their stay in the UK through what they call the EU settlement scheme. In fact, that EU settlement scheme cut-off date for all EU citizens to apply is coming up on the 30th of June. So at the end of June, if you're an EU citizen residing in the UK, and if you haven't applied for your pre-settlement status or settlement status, you will find it hard. In fact, automatically, it's more or less you're living here as an EU citizen, as an illegal immigrant, despite you were legal before. So if there's any EU citizens that are watching this program that have not applied for their pre-settlement under the EU settlement scheme, they have to do it before the 30th of June. Very, very important, because after that, it might be difficult. Technically, they will become overseers and they might not be able to regularize their papers. One of the things that the changes of pulling out from the EU, that the UK pulling out from the EU, is EU citizens that now wants to come into the UK can come on holidays, stay for 90 days, and are expected to leave after their holidays. Also, if they want to live here and work here, they have to apply for entry clearance. like people coming from outside the EU. So, for example, if you have a nurse from the EU, previously they can just come in here and just get a job and just start working and live here. So they're deciding that treat you right. But if a nurse from Poland wants to come to the UK, that have not been living in the UK before the 31st of December 2020, that nurse we have to apply like any other nurse that wants the through the work visa route. So I think that is very important, because I see a few people phoning saying, can I still come into the UK and live? I have a German passport. I have a French passport. They can only visit on holidays. They can't reside in the UK and work in the UK without getting the proper entry clearance to work. So that is very important. People are still coming in. Obviously, they can come in as a visitor, but they can't work. So I think they should know that. That is for EU settlement scheme. And you know, before now, as EU citizens, they enjoy a lot of rights. They have family rights to bring their family members, to bring their, dependents, and the fees are zero. They don't normally pay any money for their application. If there are people that depend on them, either from any part of the world, that they can demonstrate that they've always made provision, they could join them in the UK. But now, any application they're making for family members to join, they have to go through all those routes. So I think people need to know all these changes that are happening concerning EU. So EU is there's no more automatic right to work if you're just coming in, and automatic right to stay, okay? Then I said I will also talk about naturalization. For residents of the UK that have met the requirement to naturalize, to become a British citizen, there are conditions that you need to meet before you naturalize. I would take, for example, maybe I'll take a student, or I'll take maybe a work permit holder. Let me take a work permit holder. If you come into the UK and you're under the work visa scheme, and you spend your 5 years, you are entitled to apply for indefinite leave to remain. Your indefinite leave to remain, before you apply for indefinite to remain, there are conditions you have to meet. You have to meet the condition of your English test. You have to meet condition of your life in the UK test. So once you pass all those, you apply for indefinite leave to remain. You are meant to live in the UK for another 12 months. Then you can apply for your naturalization. If you're applying for your naturalization, you have to also demonstrate what they call the good character. You need to demonstrate that you have your English test passed, because some like EU nationals that has settlement visas, they never had the life in the UK test. It just gave them their stay. They gave them permanent residence card based on the fact that they're EU. So they didn't meet most of the conditions. So when it's time for them to apply for their own naturalization, they have to meet those conditions of English test. They have to meet all those conditions of life in the UK. So they need to meet all those conditions they never, that they were enjoying under the treaty rights. So they need to pass all those life in the UK. If you have a qualification, like if you have a degree that you acquire from the UK or overseas, and if those degree if those degrees were taught in English language, and you have evidence to prove that it was taught in English to NARIC, they will also accept it as a waiver for you for your English test. So you will just do your life in the UK test, and you go apply for your naturalization. So you pay your naturalization fee, is about 1,000 plus. Then once your naturalization has been granted, you will go for your citizenship ceremony, where you take your oath as a British citizen, and you'll be presented a certificate. Once you have your certificate of naturalization, you can take that to the post office, or you go online and you apply for your British passport. So that is for naturalization to British citizen. If you are a student and you can demonstrate that you've had continuous legal stay, either student or no student, anyone that can, sorry, I had the call that tried to, yeah. So if you can demonstrate also that you've lived in the UK legally for a 10-year period, either as a student, maybe you started from secondary school to A-levels, to your first degree, to master's, and you have your 10 years continuous stay, you can apply for indefinite leave to remain. And after your indefinite leave to remain, 1 year later, you can apply for your naturalization, and you can get your British citizenship and get your passport. For example, you did 2 years A-levels, 3 years masters, and you did 3 years degree, 2 years A-level, 5 years, masters, did another 2 years, PhD, like that, 10 years. You get your 10 years legal route, you apply for your natural. I know a lot of students have done it, but it costs a lot of money, keep studying and all that. But if you are here legally for 10 years, you can also get your naturalization and become a British citizen. So that is for naturalization and EU settlement scheme. Finally, let me just touch 1 or 2 bits about overseas entry clearance. There are different ways, as Alex has already advised, of coming into the UK. There are spouse, families. If you want to come to the UK from overseas, you have to go through you have to be granted what they call entry clearance. And under the entry clearance rules, under the immigration rules, you have different categories. Are you coming to join your family member that is living and settled in the UK? Are you coming as a student? Are you coming as a visitor? Most people that come into the UK, they come as visitors. So there are also conditions you have to meet for you to apply for the tourist visa, which is the holiday visa. So maybe I'll stop here and give people the opportunity if they have questions, or if Alex wants to contribute more.
Let me just chip in a little bit, right? Just to elaborate a little bit more on what you said to do with the naturalization application, which is good, right? Other than naturalization, however, there are also other routes to becoming a British citizen, for children as well. Even for children without any leave before. So when I say leave, that means visa. So for instance, if you have, for instance, a child who was born in the UK, never had a visa before, never had any lawful residence, but has lived in the UK continuously for 10 years, right? Without excessive absences, for instance, no more than 90 days in any 12 months, they've lived here for 10 years, they can apply to register to become British citizen. They've never had a visa before, right? There's an opportunity for children also, adult naturalized, which is what Tom was explaining earlier on. Adult naturalized, children have to apply to register. So if you have a parent who has lived in the UK for a period of time, I know there are quite a few immigrants in the UK without valid visa, and they've lived there for a length of time, and also the children don't have any visa also. There's various routes and various options for a parent who perhaps lived in the UK for at least 7 years with a child that was born in the UK, and the child has lived in the UK for the first 7 years of their life. They have an option to apply for a leave to remain, right? But if that child, however, has clocked up 10 years resident, with or without a visa, it doesn't matter whether or not they had a visa. As long as they can demonstrate they were born in the UK, they've lived in the UK for the first 10 years of their life, they can apply to register to become British citizen. That's another option that people should bear in mind. So there is a naturalization option, which is for adult. There's also the registration option, which is for children. For instance, the children I've just explained, and there's registration option for children whose parents acquired indefinite leave, like Tom was explaining earlier on. So if you were living in the UK, you had visa for 2 years or for 2.5 years, for even for maybe as a student maybe, and then you carried on living in the UK lawfully anyway, and you had a child in the UK when you didn't have indefinite leave to remain. If you then acquire indefinite leave to remain, your child also may be able to register to become a British citizen. There are different options, but just bear in mind that children can register to become British, and there are options for them to be able to do so, especially those that were born in the UK. And adult naturalized, they apply to naturalize as a British citizen, which is what Tom already explained.
And okay. If I can also contribute to what Alex was saying there, if you are a parent of a child that have lived here for 10 years that never had any kind of stay in the UK, as soon as your child is granted the British citizenship through registration, as Alex has said, you have some right to now make an application with under your children's passport.
Yeah, you can then apply for leave to remain based on the parent, as a parent of a British citizen child. There are more information that you need, and there are rules that you have to satisfy, requirement that you have to meet in order to be able to make a successful application. But just bear in mind there are options there available to you. And before you go ahead in making any sort of application, it's always advisable to seek professional legal advice. Don't just go off of the back of the information that we're providing you here right now. This is just a conversation for conversation purposes, and just to give you a brief overview of the options that you may have to be able to regularize your stay in the UK. But always, it's very, very important, seek professional help or advice before applying for any sort of visa. For one, it costs you a fortune to make an application in the first place. What you don't want to do is to spend so much money and come off with nothing, because doing the wrong thing will essentially cause your application to be refused. And if your application is refused, you're left with nothing. You lose your money, you don't get a refund. It's not like something you buy from the shop and, oh, it doesn't work, I'm going to take it back. They're going to not give you your money back. So you need to bear that in mind. Advisable, seek advice. Take the information that we're giving you here today. We are going to be taking questions from yourselves. But whatever you do, don't go off of the information that we're giving you here today to then put in an application to the Home Office. Or Alex said I can make this application, or Tom said I can make that application. Don't do it. Seek more information, seek more advice, and then go ahead and making whatever application you do based on advice that you've already taken professionally, then being able to make an informed decision for the best application. On the best application for you or for your children or for any other person. Okay.
Oh, all right. Thank you so much, Alex. Before moving forward, please, Alex, there was something you made mention the other time, that you have to be very careful when you are making application for your naturalization or citizenship, that there are some common mistakes that you need to elude. Please, can you quickly put us through this common mistake? These are the things that somebody might not know, or whoever that is listening to us, they might not be aware of. Can you put us through some of these common mistakes, please?
For instance, right, if you have an EU citizen, like Tom explained earlier on, who has lived in the UK and then acquired permanent residence, whose permanent residence is no longer going to be of any use anyway from the 30th of this month, so it becomes invalid, basically. So you need to be applying for the settled status or pre-settled status, like Tom explained earlier on. But if you have an EU citizen who had or has permanent residence and then acquired pre-settled status, and then going on to make an application to naturalize, to acquire your settled status, for instance, settled status essentially is indefinite leave to remain for EU citizens, okay? So to acquire your settled status, you don't have to meet a great deal of requirement. All you have to show is that you lived in the UK for 5 years, and for the 5-year period of time that you were working, okay? have a record of you working for a 5 years period of time, and then you granted settled status, right? Now, 1 year after your settled status is approved or you acquired your settled status, you can then apply to naturalize, okay? In the application for naturalization, Tom mentioned the good character requirement, right? Yeah. Good character requirement is a big issue in naturalization application. There are a lot of things that will hinder good character that will come into play where good character is required. It's an issue. For instance, there's criminality, but I wouldn't be touching on criminality. But criminality is one thing to bear in mind. If you have a criminal conviction, it doesn't matter for a length of time. You have to have spent that convictions. There are convictions that are not spent. And so I would also say, if you're looking at making an application to naturalize, and you have any criminal convictions in the past or bankruptcy issues or anything at all to do with financial problem, seek advice before putting an application. And naturalization application will cost you £1,229 or thereabout, just under £1,300. Okay, that's what it will cost you. It's a lot of money to be throwing away. And you have to also be meeting the life in the UK requirement, which again costs you money to take the test and all that. So seek advice before putting an application. But just going back to the EU settlement scheme I was explaining earlier on to do with naturalization, EU citizens, for instance, are not required to meet a great deal of requirement. Once they acquire their settled status, 1 year after acquiring settled status, they can apply to naturalize. Now, when it comes to applying to naturalize for EU citizens, there's a good character requirement. The good character requirement says you have to provide evidence of 10 years of working in the UK. And to show that you've lived in the UK lawfully for 10 years before you make your application. So if you have somebody who hasn't worked or lived in the UK lawfully, or who has lived in the UK, but for the most part of the 10 years hasn't worked, right, their application will be subject to refusal. Or somebody who has lived in the UK has worked unlawfully, right? An example of such a person will be someone from what country can I say? Romania, for instance. When Romania joined the EU, they were required to apply for a registration certificate, for yellow certificate it is called, right? So if your period of residence in the UK as a Romanian citizen, you were living and working in the UK without such a registration, you haven't lived in the UK lawfully, right? You could apply to become settled with settled status, but when it comes to naturalization, you want to prove that you've lived in the UK lawfully for 10 years, right? Because that's a requirement. If there's any gap at all in your lawful residence, there's a problem in your lawful residence, it could hinder your application. So you want to be making sure before making an application that you haven't any period of unlawful residence, of working illegally or working unlawfully. Those are things that could hinder an application. Okay?
Okay, yeah. All right, Pastor Tom.
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah.
All right, sorry. You mentioned that someone has to be in UK for 10 years. I remember you mentioned something like that, and Alex also spoke about it. But what about a situation where within that 10 years, you traveled abroad? Do you think, will that hinder the application as well?
Yes, there are, as Alex was saying, there are certain conditions you have to meet. When I say 10 years, I mean legal 10 years stay. You know,
yeah. Do you have to travel abroad, or you shouldn't travel at all?
You can travel, but there's a limit.
No, sorry, go on. I thought you were finished there. Sorry, no.
You see, when they said there are 5 years route to indefinite leave to remain, there are 10 years route to indefinite leave to remain. They calculate the number of time you've spent in the UK. So they want to ensure that the number of time you're spending here is more than what you're spending abroad. So if they're more abroad, when you make those applications, they will refuse it. There's a required number of days you're allowed to stay abroad. So for example, now, let's say you are under a 5-year dependent route. Let's say your husband is a nurse and you are a dependent and you're a banker in Nigeria. So they gave you dependent visa to join your husband as a nurse here. You joined your husband here, but you're still working in Nigeria. You went to Nigeria, you're staying, you're coming, you're going, you're coming, you're going. When it's time for you to apply for your indefinite leave to remain, the chances that they will refuse is very high. Because the number of time you're spending overseas is more than the time you're spending here. So we have the number of days you are expected to spend in the UK for you to be able to grant. And people that is another common mistake that happens also when people are making those applications for indefinite leave to remain, especially people that have other businesses outside that are constantly traveling. You have to put all the dates that you have traveled abroad and you are traveling into the UK. So you put all the days you're spending outside. So by the time they calculate everything, and if you spend more time, there's a requirement that you can't spend too many time outside than you spend. Yeah,
if I just
want to put more like.
Yeah. So for the absences, depending on your visa route, for instance, right? So if you 10-year route, if you're looking to maybe apply for indefinite leave based on 10-year lawful residence, right? The rule doesn't say that you shouldn't travel abroad, right? But what the rule is saying that you should not spend, in the period of 10 years, you shouldn't spend more than 540 days absences, right? That's what the immigration rule says. But however, there was a recent court decision anyway that threw that into total disarray now. The immigration says they need you not to spend more than 540 days up. So it's essentially no more than 6 months in any 1 year period, okay? So that's what the rule says. So 100 and I think it's 180 months or thereabout, but in total it's 540 days anyway. That's what it is. So the 10-year period of applying for indefinite leave to remain based on 10-year lawful resident, you shouldn't have more than 540 days absences, okay? But if you say, for instance, you were a sponsored worker, which under the skilled worker now, what used to be tier 2 visas, right? And you were living here, say a nurse living in the UK, going back to Tom's analogy, a nurse working and living in the UK with the partner coming to live with them from overseas who is a banker in Nigeria, such a person wouldn't be able to apply for indefinite leave because the rule says there's a condition on you not being out of the UK for more than 6 months in any 12 months period, right? But again, the rule was again tweaked a little bit in 2018, right? So where you have 12 months, no more than 6 months in any 12 months period before 2018, it is now no more than 6 months in any rolling 12 months. So there isn't January to December, not anymore. In the past, before the 11th of January 2018, you have a complete block of consecutive 12 months. But since in 11th of January 2018, it's a rolling 12 months period for people who are here, for instance, tier 2 visas, which is now the skilled worker visa anyway, because tier 2 is no longer there since December of last year, right? Or for people who were under or who are still under the tier 1 entrepreneur visas, which is no longer here. You now have the innovator visa and the skilled worker visas. Again, those are all leave to remain applications that people can make. So the condition for stay is a very strict one. When you want to make an application, you want to be making sure that you meet that strict requirement about your length of residence in the UK, for one, and also about your absences. Because if you leave, I mentioned earlier on about a recent court decision. The recent court decision was to do with an application for indefinite leave to remain that I think it was 3 or so days over the 540 days absences, the application was refused, right? So the Home Office have their own calculation. You're not allowed to have more than 540 days absences out of the UK in the 10-year period for your lawful residents, for the 10-year lawful residents. If you do, you could have a problem. You will have a problem. Okay, so bear that in mind and don't overstay. Don't travel abroad and don't come back. Unless there are exceptions, again, there are exceptions, unless maybe, for instance, this whole coronavirus issue, you went abroad and not able to come back, that could give you an exception because it's something out of your control. So there are exceptions, again, that could allow you to spend more than the required period of time abroad. Again, however, it is specific to individual. It's not a blanket provision for everybody. So advice or suggestion will be, don't take the risks to overstay. If you can come back, return on time so that you're not overstaying or your residence abroad, that would be really, really helpful to you when you come to making your application. Okay.
All right.
So to bear in mind, it's 540 days absences in a 10-year period.
All right. Thank you so much, Alex, and thank you so much, Pastor Tom. Well, at this junction, though we've got so many other questions to ask you guys, but at this junction, I think I would like to open the floor for any of our participants to unmute and ask whatever questions that they've got in mind. Oh, somebody is raising up a hand. Linda Chidima Okara, can you unmute yourself, please? Linda, can you unmute? All right. Linda, are you with us? Hello, Linda. We can't hear you.
Everyone, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, that's clear. All right, Linda.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I am Linda. Thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. Then, please, I want to ask a question or get a clarification. I am a student. I came into the UK with my husband on the 31st of January, but my kids are not yet here with me. And this graduate route of a thing, that is the post-study visa, a friend of mine was telling me that if my children are not in the UK before September 27th, that they won't be eligible for this post-study visa. So I don't know, I would like you people to throw more light on that, to know if that is true, if it is only for the applicant or both for the dependent, so that I will know what to do. Thank you.
Right.
All right.
Heidi, you want me to take that?
Would like to go for that.
Your friend is right. Your children have to be in the UK for them to be able to. You cannot make the entry clearance application from abroad. What sort of what are you studying? What level of study you're doing? Masters or doctorate or first? Okay. It will be masters anyway because your husband is here with you. So
I'm doing my master's social work. I'll be finishing in 2023.
Right.
Yeah.
So why couldn't your children join you then?
Well, finances.
Right. Okay. If you were graduating, you'll be finishing in 2023.
Yes, sir.
So you wouldn't be applying anyway until you complete the studies anyway in 2023.
Okay.
Right. So it wouldn't be a problem for you. My suggestion, however, regardless, would be that you seek advice before applying for your children then. But if you were abroad or your children were abroad and you're finishing your study now, maybe your children couldn't join you, right? And you're finishing your study after the 1st of July because the provision opens on the 1st of July, first of next month for the graduate route visa. So if you were abroad and you were entering the UK, say for instance, you were abroad because of COVID and you're not able to return to the UK, right? And you came back to the UK, your children are still in Nigeria, then it will be a problem for them to be able to apply because they have to join you in the UK. So you're applying, you're finishing your studies in 2023. The rule only goes to 2026 to 2022. I don't think it will be a problem for your children if they're still in Nigeria now, but it may be something I have to look into a little bit more. And Tolase, the host, can always provide you with my details to provide you with more information on this. Okay.
All right. So if even if they didn't come to the UK before September this year, is not a problem, right?
It shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
Because your visa anyway, you're not finishing until 2023. When does your student visa expire?
2023.
What month in 2023 though?
May.
Linda, I know Pastor Sam wanted to say or would like to say something, but before then,
Alex,
you did. Sorry, Pastor. There's something I quickly want her to clarify. She said a friend said that. Do you know where your friend got that information from? Is it from the government website or from just a random word of mouth?
The government.uk website. It's just that it wasn't specified if dependence is inclusive.
All right. Pastor Tom, please.
I think Alex has already thrown more light. What I just wanted to advise the lady is you do everything possible for you to bring your children in before you complete your studies. Before you, so that you will not find it difficult to when you're making the application, because people always have that problem. Either they never included their children in their previous application, or suddenly they just feel they need to make an application and the children are abroad. So I think if you can, the earlier you bring your children, the better.
When did you start your study then? Sorry, I'm just looking at the immigration rule, right? Just while Tom was talking. Sorry?
I started this January.
January, right, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at it because I think where your friend may have gotten that information from is under the coronavirus concession. So for people who are taking distance learning, right, or for people, you say where distance learning has taken place outside the UK as a result of COVID-19, the following concession will apply. If you began your studies in October 2020, so you have until June 2021 to apply. And I think your friend may have seen that under the coronavirus concession. So if you began your study in January or February 2021, you will be eligible to switch into the graduate immigration route if you enter the UK by the 27th of September 2021.
Yeah.
So it's the 27th of September of 2021.
I think it's 2021.
It's September, 27th of September 2021. But regardless, however, your friend is right in the essence that you started your study now, but you're already in the UK and coronavirus doesn't apply to you right now. And the graduate route also is a new provision within the rules that you may need somebody to look at the whole rules, the whole requirement and everything, and provide you with adequate advice. But if I have to go off of what I'm just looking at under the, is within the UK immigration rule, the coronavirus, the COVID-19 concession, it's on the government website anyway, you can find the information there. All right. Yeah. It does say if you began your studies in January or February of 2021, your children can apply, but they have to be in the UK by September of 2021.
So are you saying that my children must be in the UK by September 27th?
27th of September of 2021.
21.
Yeah, which is this year, September of this year. Belinda.
Yeah.
What I would advise you is this, right? This is just an overview of the situation that you may come across in terms of when you want to make an application. And it's always, like Tom said, advisable or to include your children and make an application for your children as quickly as possible. It's an application that you cannot make from abroad. There's no provision for them to make an application from abroad. And I haven't looked at this in more details, but just off of the little information that I've just obtained while Tom was explaining to you earlier on, the rule says that if you began your study in the January or February, then you have until 27th of September 2021 to be in the UK for you to be able to apply under the route, right? Yeah. If your dependents are not already in the UK with you by that date, right, they will not be able to join you. New dependent will not be permitted on this route except where the child was born in the UK.
Good.
So your husband will be able to, but unless the children that you end up having in the UK in future, or if you do have more children in the UK, they will be able to join you in the route. But the children will not. The children that are abroad will not be able to join you. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, Linda, thank you. Is that all? Or do you have any other question to ask, Linda?
Yeah, I have another question.
All right, then.
Yeah, for instance, the student that came with her husband, and the husband happened to maybe get a tier 2 visa with maybe the place that he is currently working. Does it mean that if the place that he's working gives him tier 2 visa, must he remain with that tier 2 visa to the period of 5 years? Or if he gets a better job, does he need to require another tier 2 visa from a company that
the new employer?
Yeah, from the employer, or must it be the first tier 2 visa that he got that he has to stay till 5 years before applying?
Yeah, sorry, Alex. Can we let Pastor Tom take this, please?
Okay, if Alex wants to take it, if you get sponsorship, it's like changing university. If you change job, the new sponsors will apply for your visa again, and everything will change. As far as you don't have indefinite leave to remain, if you keep changing university, you keep changing your cars. If you keep changing job, you keep changing your sponsorship. So as soon as you change job, you change everything changes for you. I hope that answers you.
No, I'm not clear. Okay, let me be specific, please.
Let me put in a layman's language. The layman's language is, your question is, if you're on student dependent visa and you are dependent, you're on student dependent, you get a tier 2 visa with tier 2, and now you got another job. With that 5-year route change? Yes, that is the answer, because you have to have another sponsor again. Does that make sense?
Okay, let me ask it in this way. Like, no, my husband got permanent job with a care home. So he was asked if he would want to stay back with them, at least to give him a tier 2 visa. So, at first he used the diplomacy to answer the question because he doesn't really know why he was asked. But later they undergo a training, and my husband now asked the question. He was told that they will be giving tier 2 visa if he wants to stay back with them. So now my question is this, because my husband is a health professional. So we are worried if they give him tier 2 visa under that care home, and then he later get job as a health professional because he has to register with the HCPC, which we are on the process of registering with the HCPC. So if he later now get a job as a health professional here, does he have to apply for a new tier 2 visa with the HCPC, with the hospital or wheresoever he got the job as a health professional? And then if he gets, will that one that he gets from the care home be binding on him?
No, you see, you have to be very careful.
Okay.
You can leave any employment and go to another employment. The new employer will apply for you if they have agreed that they will apply. Are you getting that? But at times, some employers will put condition on the employment that we're going to apply for you, but you will have to stay with us for 5 years. You have to stay with us for 4 years.
Okay.
I don't know the full details of any conditions that are attached to your terms and conditions of employment. If it's just we are going to sponsor you, we give you this visa, your husband applied for HCPC registration, got a job in another place, and they are willing to sponsor your husband can go. Alex.
Hi.
Is that correct?
Yeah. So yeah. I think maybe you're totally right, Tom and Linda. Yeah, Tom has answered your question, but what you're trying to essentially understand is whether or not your husband needs another sponsorship where if he moves his job, right?
Okay.
That's correct. He would need the new employer to sponsor him. It wouldn't be under the tier 2 anymore because there's no more tier 2 visas. It will be under the skilled worker route, right?
Okay.
It's a lot more relaxed and a lot more, it's more simplified in terms of the requirements. And but again, sponsorship is required for the prospective employer. So if the new employer doesn't have a sponsorship license, they wouldn't be able to sponsor your husband. So it's advisable for your husband to be certain that the new employer will be able to sponsor him before he leaves his old employer or the current employer.
Okay.
Or he can leave, he will still be under the 5-year route to settlement. So the time spent under the tier 2, if he was currently under tier 2 or under the skilled worker visa, that could also be combined with the time spent in the new visa route. So you have the old tier 2 visa and now you have the skilled worker visa, right? It will still be the 5 years again before he applies for settlement.
Okay, it wouldn't start afresh to count.
No, there's no reason why it should, because the visas anyway, there's pretty much a change of name. It's still the same visa that he will be applying for, but it's just rebranded from tier 2 to skilled worker.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right now.
All right, Linda. Thank you so much. Do we have anyone else who would like to ask any question? All right. If there is no one for now, we can continue. Please, I know we've been having discussions on visa applications, studentship, and all of this. There is one thing that I will want our expert to quickly just put us through on, which is the asylum issue. So what are the, whoever that would like, what are the things to put into consideration before anyone will consider going to register him or herself as an asylum seeker? What are the things for the person?
I think the first thing, the first thing to bear in mind is whether or not you have a fear of returning to your home, your own country, based on persecution. So if you have a fear of persecution from going back home, and the persecution could be from anybody, not so much anybody, but it could be from the state, that is the government of your country, for instance, or from individuals, for instance, an organization within the country that the government has lost control of. I would use a country, say Nigeria, for example, where you have different factions, say, what they call the Boko Harams, they're terrorizing a certain part of the country. And you have the issue whether or not that is a terrorist group. You could class them as a henchman. So there are different issues in Nigeria, for instance, and you have a Nigerian now having a fear of returning back because they fear persecution from these factions who the government is either not able to control or as totally don't want to control, right? And you want to make a claim for asylum based on that. You may have a legitimate claim. Again, however, it has to be based on a legitimate fear of persecution from such an organization, either from the government or an organization that the government couldn't control in your own country. Okay? If there is no fear of persecution, your claim for asylum is likely to be rejected.
Okay.
And to make a claim for asylum, if you're already in the UK, you have to you contact there's information on the government website anyway that you find. You have to go to Croydon in person to register your claim for asylum. There's a phone number. You can ring them first of all to make an appointment, and then they will book you in to come in and register your claim for asylum. And once that is done, they will then arrange for you to have an interview where you then tell them your main reason for wanting to make a claim for asylum. And your asylum claim is considered and a decision is made. Whilst you are awaiting a decision on your asylum claim, if you may be here for almost a year or you haven't had whether or not you're waiting for the fresh asylum claim or you made a repeat asylum claim, for instance, submitting new additional information, if you've made a claim for asylum previously and it was refused and you had to now make another claim again by providing more information, right, which is called a fresh claim, and you've been waiting for a decision on that claim for over 12 months, you could apply for permission to work. Again, your permission to work, however, is restricted to a specific type of employment, but that's something for you to bear in mind. And when you make a claim for permission, when you make an application for permission to work, if you have been waiting for a decision on your case, that could spawn the Home Office on to maybe make a clear decision on your case. If they want to refuse it, you could just then go ahead to refuse it then and not give you the permission to work anyway. So something for you to bear in mind. But making a claim for asylum is mostly based on fear of persecution. It could be based on your race, on your nationality, membership of a particular social group. There are 5 issues that the Home Office or that is considered under when you're making a claim for asylum. And your race is one. So if you are like a minority within your country, there are countries where a certain minority, I'll take Rwanda, for instance, in the early 90s or mid 90s, there was a genocide in Rwanda because of the ethnic cleansing. So you have that because you're a minority, particular social, you belong to a particular group of minority that the government or part of the government want to wipe out. That is fear of persecution. That again can give you a legitimate claim for an asylum. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Pastor Sam and Pastor Tom.
I think Ati raised her hands up. I'm not sure whether that is still.
Yes, I did.
Oh, well, you should have spoken up. All right, then. All right.
I was just going to ask, you know, Alex said that you need to be careful before you go ahead to make an application. You need to ask more questions and to make informed decisions. I wanted to ask if there is a situation where you can be refunded, or could you never be refunded once you have made an application? Once it is rejected, nobody refunds you.
So an application, there is a refusal, there's a rejection. A rejected application is an application that hasn't been decided on. So when the Home Office rejects an application, it could be because very rarely now anyway you get a rejected application, but an application will be rejected, for instance, in the past, if you've paid the fees, but you haven't paid the correct fees.
Yeah.
So they reject the application and return they basically don't consider the application. They take, I think, £25. I'm not sure whether that is still the amount now. They take a little bit of, for administrative purposes, they take a bit of a deduction of the fee that you paid and not consider your application and reject it. So that application hasn't been decided. There's nothing done to that application. So it just essentially means that you made an invalid application. So that was rejected, your fee will be refunded. Okay. For an application that has been considered and refused, there is no refund.
Okay.
So if you're thinking of making an application, because most applications now, if not all, are all online, right? So when you make an application, you have to pay the fees, correct fees online, right? So there's no technicality, or less, maybe I can't think of any reason why you wouldn't be paying the right fee for your type of application now, because you're paying the fees anyway, and it tells you what you have to pay. If you don't have that right amount, then they wouldn't go through, right? But if you made an application that is invalid, then yes, your fee will be returned to you with just a fraction of it taken off, right? And you'll have your application back and you have your fees back. That would mean that you've never made a correct application in the first place. You've made an invalid or incorrect application, right? But once an application is considered and a decision made on that application, you can't get your money back. The only funds you get back will be the immigration health surcharge. Say, for instance, you're applying for leave to remain based on your relationship with your child, who's a British citizen, for instance, and that application was refused, The application fee will be retained, which is £1,033 for leave to remain application based on family roots. That fee will be retained, but the immigration head surcharge will be retained to you because the immigration fee, the head surcharge fee you pay is towards the NHS. But if they're not granting you a visa, the likelihood for them or the understanding will be that you wouldn't be using the NHS.
Yeah.
And then they will refund that NHS fee back to you at a later time. But the application fee is hardly ever returned once a decision is made on the application.
Okay. Can I quickly ask another question, please?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Apart from overstaying in the UK, maybe your visa has expired. When is deportation imminent?
Criminality, if you've been in prison for more than 12 months. So if you have somebody who has been sentenced to 12 or more, 12 or more months or years imprisonment, they automatically are subject to deportation. Okay. So if you have overstayed, you technically don't attract automatic deportation for overstaying. You could be subject to administrative removal, which is different to deportation, because deportation attracts 10-year ban automatically. If you're administratively removed, right? I know it's hard for people, laymen or lay person to distinguish the situation. But if you were to say you overstay your visa and then the Home Office detained you and then sent you back home, that isn't deportation.
Okay.
Right? So there's a certain period of time, or length of time that you have to spend outside the UK, depending again on the conditions or the process for you to go back home. So if you paid for your return back home, then the length of time that you stay outside the UK before you can come back is lower or less for someone than for somebody who the Home Office had to pay for their flight back home. Did you understand that?
Yes.
All right. So deportation is mostly coming to play off of criminality. So if you commit a criminal offense and you have to go to jail for, or you're a persistent offender, or you've been in prison for more than 12 months, that will automatically trigger the deportation order against you.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yes, thank you.
All right. All right. So do we have any more questions from the participants, please, before we come to the end of today's program? Okay. If there's no questions, Pastor Tom Ademowagun, please, we would like you to just give us some kind of advice on this issue in the community about immigration. Just kind of general advice on what people should be expected, or what is.
Yes, thank you very much. I think from our discussion today, it's obvious that people need very good quality legal advice. There's this notion that if everybody is an immigration advisor, the fact that you completed your own form and everything went through, cases are different, routes are different, the way we all came in are different. Some came in with marriage, some came in with student visa, some came in with work visa, some came in through back of the lorry, some came in, some swam in. So don't just, in fact, even asylum application, people will say, oh, this is what I used to claim my own asylum. Go and do the same. Seek legal advice is my watchword to people. No application under immigration that is easy. You must seek legal advice. Pay for that initial consultation. Pay a qualified immigration advisor. and let them advise you before you make the application. You're not being forced to make the application, but just, get consultation, 1 or 2 lawyers. You speak to Alex, say, oh, I'm not satisfied. Or you speak to Tom, oh, I'm not satisfied. You go and speak to another lawyer and compare and make your own research. Read up, but don't just go ahead and make applications because at times you can decide to say, okay, I think I understand what they're saying. And under little technicality, if that extension is refused, you can become an automatic overstayer. Because once it's refused, and if the refusal is not subject to appeal, the appeal is not being granted, actually, and they ask you to leave, and because every application must be made before your leave expire if you want to have your continuous residence, and if you want the application to be considered smoothly. Don't wait until your visa remains a week before you start looking for a lawyer that will help you, to change, to switch your visa. In fact, a year, 6 months, 2 years, start planning it. What category you want to switch to, if you're a student or, you want to bring somebody from abroad. Don't leave it till last minute. Seek legal advice. No matter how easy it is, pay for consultation. That consultation could save you thousands of pounds. And finally, if you get your immigration status right, you are on a solid ground. Without your immigration status, in fact, life is a misery. It's going to be so miserable. You can work, you can claim benefits, you can buy properties, you can do anything. You can go to school. So I say to people, your immigration status is like, in fact, better than your degree qualification. Because if you have a degree, if you have masters, and you don't have the status to work with, it's as good as if somebody that doesn't have a degree that has status that they can even they can be better than yourself. So please always make sure your visa is valid. Don't break any rules. Think about your naturalization for good character for your application. If you have county court judgments, if you are the type that is always owing, you don't pay, you are always driving without insurance, you are driving without valid driver's license, you are the type that will be doing fraud, will be doing, terrible things, or you're not paying proper tax, you are putting yourself, you are making yourself vulnerable and liable not to get your citizenship. So be careful.
All right. Thank you. Alex.
Yeah, I think the first and foremost thing I'll say is, just following on from what Thomas said, seeking professional advice relating to your immigration application or immigration issue is very, very advisable for a lot of reasons, if not only for the cost. The application fees is astronomical. Again, like I've mentioned earlier on, there's no refund. And so just to save yourself the stress and the headache of having to reapply and having to lose your money, do it all over again, go through the same process, and maybe the second time without a visa, which would then complicate your life even more, it's easier and advisable to seek professional advice or information so that you'll be able to make an informed decision on the right path to follow. That's one. And also bear in mind that it doesn't really matter what situation as an immigrant that you are in the UK, there's almost always an option for you, okay? So again, it goes back to seeking professional advice so that you'll be able to get all the options, explore all the options that are available to you. And from those options that are discussed with the professional, your legal advisor, you would then be able to make an informed decision on as to what application is better for you or right for you. And also for your children. I mentioned earlier on, for people with children already in the UK without a visa, I know we talked a lot about asylum. You have instances where there are asylum seekers in the UK for a lengthy period of time, years even, without a visa. and they end up having children in the UK, the children may be eligible to become British, depending on how long they've lived in the UK for. And once that child then acquires citizenship as a British, that gives the parents a stepping stone to acquiring their own lawful residence. And that's one option. There are different routes that are available for people, family, parents, individual, employment, students, employment, investment, entrepreneurs. There are different options that are there in terms of visa. There's a startup visas for mostly students. There's this new route we've been talking about earlier on, the graduate route visa option that is coming into play on the 1st of next month. There's a startup visa route, there's the entrepreneur, although those are a little bit more specific in terms of the requirement, and you would need sponsorship as opposed to the graduate route visa where you don't need sponsorship. But what I'm trying to say is there are various options, and every individual case are all unique to that individual. So you shouldn't be piggybacking on your friend's situation and hijacking your friend's problem. Oh, my friend had this sort of problem and they made an application and it was successful for them, so I'm going to go the same route. It's not always the case. So better for you to seek advice based on your own situation to get the right information before you go ahead and making an application. That I can't stress that more. I mean, more enough, because I practiced immigration law. I practiced immigration law pretty much for a number of years, and I've come across cases. I've come across people who made the wrong application simply because someone they knew done the same sort of application, but that is not the right application for them. Say, for instance, you have family route application. If you go on the government website, right, now it's maybe a little bit more simplified, but in the past, it would be under family route. Family route application, you have the spouse visas, you have the parent of a British citizen child, you have dependent child visa. There are different sort of visas that you have under one route of an application. The work permit route is no longer here, but we had the tier 2, and now we have the ski worker visa. Again, there are a lot of visas applications that you can make under that route. So
Will I
advise
take my leave? Sorry for putting it. Sorry,
All
Alex.
right. Okay.
It's okay, but it's just that before you go, we want you to just give your details, to people, how they can be contacted, or would you want them to contact me?
They can contact you. If anybody that would like to speak to me, they can contact you. The law firm that I'm a consultant to is called Supreme Solicitors. So, but they can contact you for my details. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Pastor Tom.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks.
It's a pleasure meeting you, Tom.
All right, Alex.
And we hopefully see you again, right?
Yes, we'll catch up. Thank you.
That will be good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
All right.
Right.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye now. Yeah, just to conclude what I was saying, it's advisable. It can't be stressed enough to always. I know fees are different depending on who you want to speak to or who you're speaking to for advice, and you may think the fees is so astronomical or so expensive that you can afford them. Pay for what you can afford and get the right advice. Again, it will save you a lot of stress, headache, and having to do the whole process all over again. Again, there's information on the government website. If you can afford the advice for someone to search and advise you as to what you need to do, spend some time on the gov.uk website. There's a lot of information on it's a lot more simplified now compared to how it was, I'll say, at the beginning of last year. The immigration rules and application process is a lot more simplified for people, so lay person can actually understand and, where possible, follow it. And if that isn't, okay for you and you're not able to do so, then you have to be talking to someone to provide you with the information that you need to be able to make a successful application, because that's what it comes down to, making a successful application. It isn't just about making an application, it's about making a successful application. If your application isn't successful, you lose your money and you end up becoming an overstayer. There's a lot of implications to becoming an overstayer. Ability to have a job, drive, bank account, anything, essentially your life comes to a full stop. So yeah, it's always, you become an overstayer, it's not good. Okay?
All right. So thank you so much, Alex. But before you go, or before we come to the end of the program, please, can you give us your contact details as well. I know I will still have it if anybody.
You do have my contact details anyway. But this is my business card. And for anybody, you can see my name is Alexander Givenson, and my office, however, is based in Newcastle. It's called UK Visa Advice Services, and we advise and assist with all aspects of immigration application from within the UK and from overseas. And also, I should mention, there's this notion that, for instance, if you're looking to make an application from overseas for your family member, who maybe your mom or dad to visit you in the UK, because they are, say, for instance, in Nigeria, you think that application can only be made when you're in Nigeria. That is not the case. If you have a mom or brother or sister who's overseas and wanted to visit you in the UK, and you're in the UK, and you're sponsoring their application, you can make the application while you're in the UK, and all they have to do is go there, send them the information that they need to attend the appointment at the application center in Nigeria or their country of application. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that you have to be in Nigeria to apply before they can come to the UK. The word apply, that's right. They have to be there to attend the appointment, to register the fingerprint and have photograph taken, which is a biometric enrollment appointment, right? But the actual application completion online can be done anywhere. Yeah, just for people who are not familiar with the process, that is something that you should bear in mind. If you need advice and information from ourselves, so Tolase does have my details anyway, again, which is what I've just brought there. And it is called UK Visa Advice Services. We're able to assist in advice, and it doesn't matter what application you're after. And you can always, the way I look at it is, the visa process can sometimes be complicated, and it can be overwhelming and a nightmare, depending on what sort of application you're making. So if you don't get it right the first time, not making an application, if you're looking for information and you seek advice and then you need more information, some law firms will want you to pay again. We're not into that. You come to me the first time, we had a chat, and you go away, you think of something else, and there's more questions that come to mind, you need answers, so you want to come back to me. That is possible. You can always come back with information. Again, there's limitation to things, but again, we're flexible in terms of assisting people, understanding that the whole process is sometimes not easy for people to navigate, and this is what we're here for. So there's no point in constantly charging you over and over again when you're asking questions relating to the same issue. Okay.
All right.
Just to address the issue of cost.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, Alex.
Pleasure.
I'm so happy that you honored our invitation, and I hope another time when we need you, you'll be happy to come back again.
It has been a pleasure getting to be part of this whole exercise today, and yeah, I will definitely be coming.
Thank you so much.
Next time when there is an invitation. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. I also want to say thank you to all the participants as well. Until another time when we'll be having some other guests on this platform, on this program. My name is still the same, Tolashi Jayoba. And until another time, I say bye-bye.
It's nice meeting you guys. Thank you all. Right. Bye-bye now.
Bye. Bye.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.